Okay. Well, one is they need to recognize the powerful impact that serving in the military, especially as a really young person, actually has on them. And it's magnified if you're in combat or in harm's way. So first of all, professors and staff need to understand that people have had an experience that has altered them. Even if it hasn't traumatized them, they're going to be different than the student sitting next to them who's the same age and has not had that experience, right? So it's cultural. Another thing is that those who've been in harm's way, in danger, or certainly who've been in combat, are going to have memories. They're going to have opinions. They're going to have experiences that other people don't. And they're often really, really powerful, emotionally loaded experiences. Let's be in a history class or a philosophy class, okay? Or a psychology class or a social work class. And let's talk about war. I have a professor who's got an opinion about war and maybe about some specific war that the young man or woman that's sitting in their class has experienced personally and the professor has not. How you talk about it can re-traumatize them. So you might disagree as a professor with the war's okayness. Is this a good war or not? It's a philosophical question, important one. But you have to be careful that you don't, while talking about the pros and cons of history or ethics or politics, you have to be careful that you don't traumatize the person who went and risk their life, in their mind, if nothing else, to take care of the rest of us. And I've seen professors just be brutal in their treatment of veterans because the veteran said, yes, but. And I've seen professors that I've sat in, I was on a panel at one time. I won't tell you where this was or who it was, but I've seen a professor absolutely degrade and humiliate people who serve in the military because the professor was a pacifist. And we traumatized veterans who just wanted to be understood and loved. If they've been in combat, I think professors need to be aware that sometimes the veteran's going to be staring out the window in what we call the 1,000-yard stare. It's a term, meaning you're looking off in the distance and you're not seeing what you're looking at. Your brain is recalling something else. Okay. So professors need to understand that sometimes if a student is staring off into the distance, it's because they're thinking about or feeling something that may be triggered by this, but they need to kind of pay attention to that because then they can come back and refocus. They're not paying attention. What they're doing is really, oh man, and they're dealing with something that what's going on in the class is triggered. So I think professors need to be careful how they communicate certain things, especially volatile topics. I think they need to understand that the veteran student is going to operate different than the typical 18, 19, 20-year-old. They just are. They're going to be wise and mature beyond their years. But they're also going to be more tense, a little bit more self-contained, and they might spend time hanging out by themselves or maybe with other veterans, but they don't get as easily drawn into kind of the social fabric of a university because frankly, I don't mean this as an insult to undergrad. College is what college is, all right? But it seems a little bit trivial and immature when you've been dealing with life and death issues. Sometimes things that people get all upset about are really about that important compared to other stuff where it's life and death, And so understanding that veterans are going to be a different kind of a duck than the rest of the group. And that's okay. We can't expect them to go and not be affected. I mean, boot camp alone will alter you. You're 18, 19 years old, you're in a room with a bunch of strangers, you're exhausted, and somebody wakes you up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do physical therapy before breakfast. And if you complain, they get on your case. That's very different than living in the dorm. at school, you see, which is where a lot of other 18 and 19-year-olds are. But you are thrust into adulthood very quickly, and it shows 4 years later.